Jocko, 13-year street cop here. My old man died when I was 10. It cut deep and I grew up with no one. Having 2 boys of my own now and loving to get after it on the street. I worry about the risk. How do I balance being the spear with ensuring I stay around for that?
So, first of all, we have to recognize that there's no way that you can ensure that you stay around. And in fact, one day you will not be around. One day none of us will be around. That's the fact. And that actually doesn't matter what your job is. And there's all kinds of things, regardless of your job, whether you have a car accident, whether you have a heart attack, whether you have cancer or a plane crash or random violence or some random accident. There's all different kind of ways to die. Now, you are correct that the death rate of cops is higher. It's higher than a normal civilian. But what like loggers, construction workers, they all have higher rates of death than a cop. Roofers. If you're a roofer, you have a higher rate of death than a cop. Any drivers, anyone that drives for a living, whether they're a trucker or whether they're literally a traveling salesman, they have a higher rate of death than being police. So no matter what you do, there's a chance that you could die. And I'll tell you what, I think about this sometimes in the reverse of like, what scares you about what your kids do? If your kids are engaging in activity that could be dangerous, whether it's parachuting, whether it's rock climbing, whatever, like there's things that your kids could do that they could die. And what you could do is not allow them to do it, wrap them in bubble wrap, and not allow them to go anywhere. And guess what? Even if you do that, there's still a chance. And you've taken away, their growth. So you can look at it in the reverse as well, that there's some things that you're not going to be able to control. And no matter what, your kid you could say, I don't want my kid to join the military. And so they go to college, and what happens in college? They get hit by a drunk driver. There's enough bad things that can happen in either one of those situations. And same thing with you and your job. You could go get a job doing something, unless you get a job that's just straight up, in an administrative situation with very limited commute and very limited driving, then that might increase your chances a little bit. But then then are you doing something that you actually like to do? So there's your dilemma. So what do you do in a situation like this? What you do is you train and you prepare and you're vigilant and you take care of your sons, obviously, and you would explain your job to them, and you explain to them why you train hard, and you explain to them why you're willing to make a sacrifice to keep others safe, including them. You work every day to keep them safe as well. And if you explain that to your sons, they will grow up with an understanding of service and discipline and duty and courage and honor. And by the way, if something did happen to you, the model that you set for them would have massive impact, on them and how they would live their lives. And I believe it would be actually a positive impact. Sure. Would they miss you? Absolutely. Sure. Would they wish more than anything that you could be back? Yes. But would they recognize that their dad made this sacrifice? Yes, they would. Would they live to honor that sacrifice? Yes, they would. So that's one thing you can do if you want to keep that profession. Now, if you can't get around that, if that doesn't make sense, which it's understandable. If you look at me and say, hey, Jocko, I get it. I want my kids to be raised with honor, but I'd want to be there, and that's more important to me. And if that's where you end up, then what you have to do is plot out what another job, what another career is going to be. And like I said, then you have to make it doing something that legitimately gets you into a better survival rate, which, by the way, outlaws just about every outdoor job you could have. So if you work in construction, nope, that's not it. Working as an electrician, nope, that's not it. Working as a lineman, nope, that's not it. All those jobs, all those outdoor jobs, go look at the statistics. Go Google death rates in jobs. And there's all kinds of fishermen. No, forget about it. There's so many jobs that have a high death rate where accidents happen. So what you're talking about going into, the life you're going into, would be an administrative job of some kind. And if you think you can do that and you think that'll give you the satisfaction that you want, then it's a possibility. Think about it. But if you look at it and you think, you know what, that's not for me, then train hard, prepare, build a great relationship with your sons, stay vigilant, don't get complacent ever, and be aggressive. I have to throw that one in there because, in my opinion, when an individual gets scared or gets hesitant or gets overprotective of themselves, I believe they're in more danger, not less danger, and more danger. So if you think that having kids, having your sons is making you less aggressive and more scared, I think you're at higher risk. So if you're going to do the job, you do the job. You get aggressive when you do the job. And if you can't, then you might want to look and see if there's other alternatives that are out there. The other thing I would say is this: how often, like, you're a street cop, you've been there for 13 years. Is there another department you could go to? Is there some other way to serve and stay connected? Use your experience in another way. Maybe an area that has a little less probability of getting killed. Again, you got to look if that's something you'd really want to do. So ultimately, and I tell this to people a lot, is there's only one person that can make this decision, and it's not me. The only person that can make this decision is you. So think through it, be thoughtful. You can even talk about it with your boys, depending on how old they are. But you can talk about it with them, explain to them, and, see what they say. Obviously there's one way that conversation could go. Hey, would you guys want me to die? Right? Of course. What are they going to say? Oh my gosh, quit that job immediately. We don't want you to do that. Right? So you're going to have to think about, I don't know what the ages of your kids are, but you're going to have to think through that one, how you address it with them. But certainly, I always look at it that there's risk at everything you do. You might as well take risk doing something that you love doing and that you know is helping other people and is setting a good example for your boys. And if that doesn't make sense, cool. Find a different job.